morning and welcome to the public hearing on proposed amendments to the New York City Water Board's rate schedule. My name is Michael Deloach and I will serve as the hearing officer for this morning's meeting. I'd like to take just a minute to give a brief overview of this morning's process. First, I'd like to add as a reminder that this hearing is limited to the two amendments to the rate schedule being considered today, specifically whether to repeal the 2.1% increase originally intended to be effective July 1, 2016, and whether to amend the deadline to comply with the terms of the Multiple Family Conservation Program, the MCP. This hearing is not related to other water board billing practices. Second, please note that we have placed certain documents into the official record maintained by the water board. That includes the notice designating me as the hearing officer, the most important document, a copy of the public notices listing this hearing as an affidavit of publication of such notices, the draft of amendments to the fiscal year 2017 water and wastewater rate schedule, and all written statements submitted by you, the members of the public, to the water board. These items are marked as exhibits 1 through 4. In just a moment, we'll hear a presentation from the board's rate consultant, Ed Marcus, at the Amawalk Consulting Group, and then we'll open the meeting up to hear from you, the members of the public. I would also like to acknowledge our Chief Financial Officer, Joseph Buren. Joe and other DEP staff are on hand to answer any questions you may have about your account. If you have not already signed up to speak but would like to, please take a moment to do so at the registration table right outside in the hallway. I'd also like to introduce the individuals joining me here today. We have Alfonso Carney, the chairman of the New York City Water Board. Water Board members Adam Freed, Jonathan Golden, and Ju K. Su. And also New York City Water Board Treasurer Omar Nassim. Chairman Carney, do you have anything you'd like to add before we begin?
Just a few words, Michael.
Sure.
If I may use this. Thank you. First of all, I want to welcome the members of the public who are here and staff, certainly, but also the members of the Water Board. Thank you all very much for coming out this morning for this hearing. I want to make the point, and only one point, and that is that we don't come to this meeting, this hearing, predisposed in one way, in one direction or the other. We are here to take public testimony. We will factor the content of that testimony into what we deliberate on later on. But I want to assure the members of the public who are here to represent an interest, whatever that interest is, that we are here to listen to you. We will listen carefully. We will take notes. And we'll use what you say here in our deliberations later on with regard to what's going to happen with the rate going forward. Michael, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. The Water Board would now like to welcome Ed Marcus from the Amawalk Consulting Group. Mr. Marcus.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is on the top microphone.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have a letter that we prepared for the hearing dated January 26, 2018, and which we'd like to introduce into the record. And I would just like to read a little bit from the second page, just to highlight our conclusions. It's our conclusion that the board could implement the bill credit while retaining the rates adopted on May 20th, 2015, excuse me, through the end of the year, which would repeal the 2.1% rate increase. And this can be accomplished by offsetting the bill credit revenue reduction with the effects of the greater than anticipated net year-end balance to carry forward from last year, together with the reductions excuse me, in debt service. And that's our conclusion.
Thank you. I'm sorry, are there questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now going to open up the floor to comments from the public. Again, if you wish to speak and have not signed up yet, please do so. We do ask that you keep your remarks to no more than 5 minutes, as we want to make sure that everyone who wishes to speak has the opportunity. I'd like to first call our first speaker, Vito Signorelli.
Good morning, members of the board. On behalf of 25,000 members of the Rent Stabilization Association who own or manage nearly 1 million affordable rental apartments in New York City, we thank you for this opportunity to speak. We commend this board for determining during the most recent rate setting schedule that rate increases were not necessary as a result of the elimination of the rental payment to the city, as well as cost savings realized by DEP. We also commend this board for considering action to repeal the 2.1% rate increase that was promulgated during the FY 2017 rate setting schedule. Back in 2016, when Mayor Bill de Blasio proposed the elimination of the water board's rental payment to the city, and then suggested that those funds be used to provide a one-time $183 credit only to 1 to 3 family homeowners, it would have left property owners of Class 2 properties and other ratepayers to bear the full cost of the proposed 2.1% increase in water and sewer rates. RSA argued from day one that there was no justifiable basis for singling out one particular class of ratepayers to benefit from a one-time rebate that would have been subsidized by all other ratepayers. We strongly believe that if the water board was to fully eliminate the rental payment to the city, then the additional $122 million savings would better be used to entirely eliminate the proposed 2.1% rate increase for all ratepayers, rather than provide a one-time credit to one class of ratepayers. Additionally, it is important to realize that no particular class is more deserving of a bill credit over another. However, in comparison to Class 1 properties, Class 2 properties have undoubtedly carried the weight in terms of funding the rental payment over the years, not to mention paying real estate taxes 5 times higher than smaller homeowners. Because of this, we believe that there should be consideration for all other ratepayers to receive a bill credit, particularly owners of Class 2 rent-stabilized buildings who have been dealt with historically low rent guidelines over a 4-year period under the de Blasio administration, as well as historically high property taxes. However, by repealing the proposed 2.1% increase and still providing a one-time credit to small owners, it would prove the argument RSA made that any rebate should not and does not need to be funded by any other rate-paying class. After years of record-high water rate increases under the Bloomberg administration, it is welcomed and necessary that this board has considered much-needed rate freezes as a result of the elimination of the rental payment. According to DEP, during the FY 2018 rate setting schedule, the system is in strong financial condition, with nearly $1.1 billion in cash savings expected to come into the system through 2021 as a result of the elimination of the rental payment. Additionally, the budget for FY 2018 was calculated at $86 million less than FY 2017. As we approach the rate setting schedule for FY 2019, we encourage the board to, at a minimum, continue considering rate freezes for all ratepayers moving forward. Additionally, although RSA applauds the recent expansion of the Home Water Assistance Program for seniors and the implementation of the Multifamily Water Assistance Program, we encourage the board to consider the expansion of these programs to private owners of existing affordable housing. RSA continues to be concerned that the Multifamily Assistance Program is targeted too narrowly to only include buildings that receive government assistance. This program should be expanded to include additional buildings that meet all eligibility criteria, other than the requirement that they be assisted through an HPD or HDC program. With the large surplus in funds, as well as the strong financial state that the system is in, the Water Board should consider that this program be expanded to the private owners of existing affordable units in order to assure that these small building owners can preserve these units while operating expenses continue to rise and rent increases remain at an all-time low. Furthermore, on behalf of our members who participate in the Multifamily Conservation Program, we appreciate your consideration of extending the compliance deadline through the end of 2018. On behalf of the members of the RSA, we thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. The next speaker is Matthew Frank.
Oh, thank you.
Matthew Frank, are you here? Okay. Then the next speaker is Herschel Weiss? Herschel Weiss?
Herschel Weiss.
Okay.
Mr. Weiss, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Herschel Weiss. I'm employed by Ashokan Water. Ashokan Water represents 8,600 buildings that look to us for guidance in knowing what the Water Board and the DEP regulations state. We represent all kinds of buildings, including the DEP buildings and some work on your sewer plants. So Columbia University, New York University, many of New York's hospitals, and thousands of apartment buildings. We understand the reason for this and have no problem with the second item. What the problem we do have is we don't understand what the requirements are for the multifamily conservation program. The rate schedule does not say anything. It says you have to comply with the guideline. It doesn't say that you have to submit an application. The DEP requires you to submit an application, but doesn't say who has to submit an application. They sent out letters to many people. It wasn't sure who they were sending those letters to. It seemed to us that they were sending those letters to any building that was moved from frontage to MCP. But then they took thousands of buildings that didn't submit applications that said they were approved because they were involved with the New York City toilet rebate program in the 90s. It's not at all clear who has to submit and who doesn't. It would be very helpful if a list came out or a clear directive. We're not asking you to change anything, we just need a memo stating who has to submit that application. The second item has been, since the inception of the multifamily conservation program, has been a problem. It states that you're required, in the event that you have a building that's mixed use, apartment building, few stores on the first floor, some retail, doctor's offices, that you have to split the main and have 1 meter for the residential portion and 1 meter for the commercial portion. If the commercial portion has a series of stores downline, there's 1 meter for all of them, and you split the main before the meter, and there'd be 1 meter, whatever, if you want to put in sub-meters for those stores, fine. That's your business, but you have to have 1 meter for each, and it's very clear. When I go to a borough office and say I would like to do so, the clerk looks at me like I have 2 heads, and they go, no one ever asks to do that. So I'm not the only person in New York City putting in meters. I said, what does everybody else? Just leave the meters you have. You have 1 in each store, that's fine for the MCB. I said, that's not what the guideline says. Yeah, you'll be good. If I ask the DEP, they say, well, you can ask for a variance. I said, I'm not gonna ask for a variance. You can do whatever you want on this thing. The borough chiefs have not bought into the DEP's guidelines that were written. And therefore, the enforcement is all over the place. If you're looking for corruption, you're setting it up right here, where the clerk behind the desk can make a tremendous difference in a contract. It seems easy to say split the main, but what that means when you split the main, if the building has backflow prevention, you would have to put a new backflow device, file new engineering, run piping, maybe hundreds and hundreds of feet. It's really not clear. This has to be made clear. You might argue that the regulation is clear, yes, but it's not being enforced. Any help with this would be appreciated, and we understand why you're going ahead with this. It just brings this to the fore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bussey.
Thanks, Mr. Weiss. I'm sure DEP will work on some clarification around the MCP in regards to your comment. At this point in the meeting, I'd like to open up the floor to any additional comments or questions on the topic of precision of the rate increase and the MCP deadline extension. Does anyone in the audience have any additional comments or questions? Before we conclude this hearing, I'd like to remind you that the Water Board will formally meet to vote on these amendments and to consider other Water Board business today at 9:30 at the same location, 255 Greenwich Street, room 8-S1-S2. As we have no further business, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Michael, thank you.
Thank you very much.